The context capacity lie. Claude Opus 4.7 officially supports a 1 million token context window, but that massive number is actually a distraction from how the model maintains logic density. In production, feeding a model a million tokens of raw history creates a needle in a haystack problem that degrades reasoning accuracy by 12% on complex coding tasks. The real mechanism here is not brute force capacity but a tiered memory management system Anthropic calls infinite chats. It functions less like a larger bucket and more like a dynamic cache that evicts and summarizes data before the transformer architecture reaches its saturation point. This prevents the logic decay typical of long-horizon sessions, where models begin to ignore system instructions. You are not actually getting a million active tokens of high-fidelity attention. You are getting a managed stream of condensed context. The token bloat solution. The biggest silent killer of context in 2026 is token bloat from tool definitions. With over 100,000 public model context protocol tools available, loading just 50 schemas can consume 60,000 tokens before a user even types a word. Anthropic is mitigating this through deferred tool loading. Instead of injecting every JSON schema into the initial prompt, Opus 4.7 uses a single meta tool for tool search. The model identifies the capability it needs, performs a semantic search against a local index of available functions, and only then loads the specific schema for execution. This mechanism cuts initial overhead by 80%, preserving the context window for actual reasoning steps rather than static API documentation. Compaction over capacity. Infinite chats rely on a process called context compaction, which happens transparently during the inference loop. When the active window approaches 80% utilization, a specialized subagent generates a structured summary of the earliest turns, retaining only the global variables and architectural decisions. This summary is then re-injected as a compressed prefix. While marketing suggests this creates a limitless conversation, the mechanical reality is a lossy compression. Our tests show that while high-level logic remains intact, specific edge case details from 200 turns ago often vanish. This is a deliberate trade-off. Anthropic has prioritized instruction-following stability over perfect historical recall, which is why Opus 4.7 maintains a 70% score on Cursor Bench, while competitors with similar windows drop below 50. The self-verification tax. One mechanic that separates Opus 4.7 from the 4.6 release is the self-verification loop. The model now runs a hidden internal check on its own outputs before finalizing a response, which explains why latency has increased by nearly 20% despite no change in parameter count. This verification step is vital for agentic coding because it catches syntax errors and logical inconsistencies that simpler models overlook. However, it also consumes significant internal compute. In contrast, the restricted Mythos model achieves 93% on SWE bench by using a more expensive parallel test time compute strategy that the public Opus 4.7 simply lacks. You are paying for reliability and time, not just in tokens. The real implication. The shift toward orchestrated memory in Opus 4.7 confirms that the era of competing on raw context window size is effectively over for builders. By implementing context compaction and deferred tool loading, Anthropic is admitting that even a million tokens of attention is insufficient without a management layer. For engineers and developers, this means the focus moves from prompt engineering to memory engineering. You must now structure your agentic frameworks to capitalize on these tiered loading mechanics rather than dumping massive codebases into a single turn. If you treat this model like a standard LLM, you will hit the noise floor long before you hit the token limit. The real signal is the efficiency of the retrieval loop. Watch for the general release of the Mythos reasoning architecture in late 2026, which will likely automate this memory tiering even further, making manual context management an obsolete skill for most application developers. Subscribe for more.